We're good to go then, Philip, if you are.
Okay, right. Good morning, everybody online, and welcome to the meeting of the Dorset Bournemouth Christchurch and Poole Joint Local Access Forum, DLAF. Agenda item 1, welcome introduction to everyone. And also the declaration of interest. You know the score. If you've got an item you've got a declarable interest on, please declare it at the time. Item 2, public questions. We don't have any this morning. So on to item 3, minutes of the last meeting, actions and matters arising not covered elsewhere. A1, which is the A35, A31 Hoggingford Bridleway severance.
Nothing more really to add to that, other than obviously it's within the ROIP to try and deal with all of these issues. So it's probably worth just writing that one off, really, because it is obviously in our minds to be dealing with it, just to save it being a repeating item where there's not much to report.
Okay.
From meeting to meeting.
Can I be reminded of why this particular one is being looked at? Over the years, we've identified probably about a dozen similar points. And I'm just trying to remember why this particular one got picked out.
I think it was highlighted by a councillor following, I think it was Councillor Brenton, obviously isn't here today, unfortunately. But yeah, obviously, like I say, we know that there's all of these issues, and hopefully in time we'll be able to tick them off and get them sorted.
Right. Item A2, Vinegar Quarry. Anything further?
No further progress with that, relating in particular to the common land. I did speak with Neil Dackham, who's the minerals and waste person who's dealing with that area, and
he's got all the maps now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, and it's just a bit of an unfortunate lack of following through initially.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that after the open access review, that the common land exchanges will become clearer on the new maps, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? It's that the maps haven't been updated since, when is it, 2006, effectively 2005, 2006,
yeah.
And so, you know, we haven't even got clarity, you know. So I mean, it's not the only place in the country where when the M25 stuff that's just happened at the moment, when that all happened, nobody got a clue where all the previous exchanges were. And it became all of a mess when they tried to exchange the same piece of land. And, you know, so I think once that happens, we might at least be able to see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it might be clear to everybody, including the public, where it all is.
The only thing of note that I have got to report on that site is the dedication of the bridleway route through there is moving ever closer. I think now just requiring the signature from the owners of the quarry, and as soon as that's done, that'll get added to the maps and what have you as well. So that'll be another 2.5-3 miles worth of bridleway, I suppose, there and thereabouts, isn't it?
So we haven't managed to get the quarry owners to agree to do anything with the car park.
Not as yet, but certainly Neil was still working on that.
Yeah, and taking
that,
down the barbed wire fences, which is obviously an impediment to access, and let alone putting in the agreed zigzag path, which will allow people to actually access a whole large area of the common.
Yeah, and which is a massive.
Yeah, and
pond.
then and we and we think that there's probably barbed wire fences, didn't we, up there as well, that needs also removing. So there's huge amounts of stuff, let alone people not knowing it's actually common.
Yeah,
Okay, so.
there's still work to be done, definitely.
Item A3, the loaders to Bradpole Bridport route. Gavin, you wish to?
Yes, if I may, Chair, thanks very much. On the 3rd of July, there was a meeting between Ed Morello, Councillor John Andrews, Place Services, Russell Goff and other members of the Green Space team to discuss a number of issues that concerned Loaders Parish Council. The Parish Council had become aware of the feasibility report that Dorset Council had put together in respect of the old railway line, now disused, which crosses the Mappercombe estate, most of which is within Loaders Parish boundaries. Loaders Parish Council weren't involved with that feasibility report, and of course local people had approached members of the council to find out what was going on, and they simply couldn't answer. And so the meeting was called. The councillors had also seen the early draft of the rights of way improvement plan. A number of points within it they felt still needed some clarification from their point of view. It was pointed out to the council at the meeting that the document is a high-level strategic document. It doesn't specifically refer to any particular projects within the county, and they shouldn't read any more into it than that. That there was some concern raised by one of the councillors in respect of the section of the improvement report that related in section 7.2 to the loaders to Bradpole area, the railway line and the possible trailway. And the way it was read by some of the councillors was that it sounded like it had been decided and that was an intention to implement it. It was pointed out that this is not the case. No decisions have yet been made. And Ed Morello pointed out that in the future there will be more opportunity for the council to be involved. And it was decided that there will be a meeting probably in the autumn when there will be the opportunity for the council to discuss one or more specific routes and enable the council to make some decisions for the future. That's all at the moment, Mr. Chair. Is that okay?
There wasn't any mention of the section further east towards Maiden Newton.
No, that didn't concern Loaders Parish Council, so there wasn't a discussion. The council are aware that there is a great deal of support further east towards Maiden Newton for the idea of a trailway.
Yes. It's all usable except the section through Tollefrancton. And I'm told that the landowner there is not so much against it as used to be.
I'm told that too, yes.
So can I also ask, Loaders Transport Group asked to be present at the meeting with Dorset Council and Loaders Parish Council to discuss the connection between Loaders and Bradpole. And we weren't allowed. We did send in a briefing document. We're still really concerned that the Parish Council is still really focusing on making improvements to FP37, which runs parallel to the road connecting Loaders to Bradpole, but doesn't cover the entire connection. There are danger issues and safety issues about getting on and off that connection, and it just doesn't feel like a safe connection, and it is diverting kind of the Parish Council's focus away from a more direct, logical and safe route.
Is there a way of setting up a meeting with all parties? That be agreeable?
We asked, and it was closed. And that particular meeting we were told was closed.
Okay, but is it possible to set up an open meeting with interested parties?
Well, who do you call the parties? It was decided that the meeting that's likely to take place in the autumn will be with Parish Council only, with an opportunity to develop a more open public forum when there are some ideas of what specific routes are being considered. At the moment, there are a number of general ideas, but no specific routes have been hard-lined.
My understanding is that they're just considering FP37 and other routes dismissed. But I mean, I would welcome.
Could the
I can
council-
discuss it with Russ and Giles, who I think was also there at that meeting.
Yes.
Giles Nicholson, yeah.
Yeah.
And see what we can do. I think so.
Okay, let me get an overview of it. Okay. Right, A5 Dorset Explorers Symbiology.
Yes, one.
I
Yes,
beg your
A4.
pardon. A4 Wessex Ridgeway meeting has taken place. JD will circulate. the
Yeah,
note.
I have. You had it with your agendas. I just did a little note on all the things that I knew anything about in the matters arising, and the meeting did take place online, and the Great Chalkway people prepared a text to be used to circulate widely. I circulated it to Ramblers and also to members of the LAF. And to the best of my knowledge, no one at all has come forward to volunteer to be part of a Wessex Ridgeway support group. So that's where we are. Ramblers are really struggling to find volunteers to fill our own posts. So I wasn't optimistic of finding anybody from Ramblers to go forward. So there it is.
Okay. Right. A5 Dorset Explorer Symbiology and Colour Accessibility.
Yeah, so immediately after the last meeting, we contacted the GIS team, and a certain amount of work on that had already been done and was planned for a bit of a phased rollout. But certainly there are the options now to be able to select your own colouring to suit whatever colour accessibility needs that you might have. So hopefully that's all sorted, been dealt with.
I can just say, as I was the one who brought that
Oh, yeah.
up, I want to thank you for that, because it did make a big difference for me.
Good. And you figured out how to.
I did, yes, yes.
Brilliant. Oh, good.
Good, so thank you.
And I see that we've got the land registry details on Dorset Explorer as well.
Yeah, just the outlines of what properties are, not the title deed numbers or obviously property owners. Not those details. You have to pay land registry £7 a pop
I think it's
to
12
do that.
isn't it? Now, I think it's gone
Or
up.
maybe we get it at a discount rate because we do so many of them. Is it 12 quid now? Is it?
Yeah.
I better stop doing quite so many.
It's quite alarming.
Right. Okay.
Could I just say that with regard to the colour accessibility on GIS, Sue Phillips, who was present at the last meeting, a lot of work on that with the GIS team, and it'd be nice if that was minuted.
If we pass on our grateful thanks to
Yeah.
her,
Yes, please do.
great help. Thank you. A6 TROs. Please.
Apologies, that one had slipped me by.
Do not worry. A7 ROIC will we be taking it elsewhere on the agenda, so we'll move on to A8 Coast Path funding.
Again, it's part of my little note about matters arising. After there was some debate at the last meeting about how much money Natural England was coughing up for Coast Path work, I asked the lead officer at Ramblers Central Office what she knew about it. And he actually went straight to her contact at Natural England that very day. And the reply that I got is in the note that I got. So Natural England seem to be saying that they are providing money as necessary.
Right. A9 King Charles III.
Ah, Sorry, this is me again. I wrote to Natural England for an update on the Coast Path a month or 6 weeks ago and said, could I have an update for today? And by yesterday, nothing had arrived. So I emailed them again and said, any chance of an update for today? she sent me one last night, but in fact sent another one this morning to say, ignore the first one. Oh, it's a man actually, sorry, it's a chap called Tim. I have to read this out because I literally only got it this morning, so I wasn't able to circulate it. Right, I'll read it and then I'll circulate it after the meeting because it's quite a lot to take in. My apologies sending so late in the day. However, I was hoping for an update on approval for the Lulworth to Kimmeridge stretch. However, we didn't hear anything prior to the expected changes in government today. Whilst there is not much more to update on, I can confirm Natural England received no objections to our proposals, and so we hope approval will be forthcoming. We are keen to progress this stretch as soon as possible. Then I'd asked him about the other outstanding bits, and the one of great interest, Lyme Regis to Rufus Castle, sections 1 to 4. Natural England have offered an establishment grant to Dorset Council to begin work on the signage, infrastructure and other establishment works for this stretch. This includes the section that will roll back at West Bay. We await a decision on the remainder of the stretch from Hive to Portland. So absolutely no further forward on that bit and no explanation as to why it's taking so long. And then Kimmeridge to Highcliffe. The signage on sections 5 to 7 is now complete. 5 and 7 is now completed. On 29th of April 2026, the Secretary of State approved the section around Christchurch Harbour, Southbourne to Muddyford Quay. The initial approval was quashed by a High Court order. Natural England's proposal to provide a formal route around the harbour and through the historic town of Christchurch. So I'll read that again. Natural England's proposal is to provide a formal route around the harbour and through the historic town of Christchurch. It is supported by the local authority and other local groups. The Secretary of State's decision to approve Natural England's proposal from Southbourne to Muddyford Quay have been legally challenged. As such, it would not be appropriate to comment on the specifics of the case or on matters currently before the courts. We continue to work closely with Dorset Council and are excited about progressing the establishment of works along the coast and opening as much as possible by the end of Q4 2026-27. Many thanks. Tim, I don't know what your job title is. Tim Hall, Senior Manager, Wessex Coast and Seas, Wessex Area Team of Natural England. I'll circulate that after.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you.
Could I just ask who's opposed that? Is it a private party or?
I don't know any more than it says in that message. I would imagine, yeah, it's a private party.
If you went through, can you see online all of these documents of support and objections?
I think you can. I think they take quite a bit of getting to, but you can. But
if you've got the
that
patience,
that won't not necessarily tell us who's made the legal challenge.
no. But I suppose they're going to probably be
gives you an
somewhere
idea.
in there.
Yeah,
It's just a case of elimination.
yeah.
I'm just trying to think what private parties would be on that.
No, why that?
On that's a general issue. We've spent several years in this situation where the Secretary of State had put an embargo on decisions whilst the ramifications of the Sweetman case were worked through. Does what you're now seeing imply that that embargo has been lifted and we can actually look to the Secretary of State to take decisions now?
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, Paul, I don't know any more than it says there.
Item A10, Hodmore Common Land.
Nothing more to add on that at the moment. Still waiting for a bit more information back about what are Dorset Council's overall responsibilities to common land related issues, particularly when they can relate a bit more to farming practices as opposed to access issues.
Okay. Item A11, open access.
Providing you with that information.
The county farms manager and our legal team.
Okay. You know lots about. Yeah.
I couldn't.
I mean,
don't
it
know,
might
but,
be
you
what-
know, I've got to obviously lean on them for advice about what to do. I mean, because the issue that you raised to do with what
Yeah.
is the access is restricted,
Yeah.
but it is still there. There are ways onto it. You know, the land, the people have been grazing it. Tell me that they never actually lock the gate, although the person from the parish council says that it is
Well,
locked. And there is also a couple of stiles into there. The fencing along the riverside is obviously intended to keep stock in, but that's not allowed because the river bank is included within the common land. It should be grazed with cattle, not sheep, and only by Dorset Council.
Yeah.
We're the only people who are allowed to graze it. So hence the involvement of the county farms manager, because at some point somebody's made the decision to lease that area out and allow sheep. So I'm just trying to track that decision down.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody needs any help, then there
Mm.
are solicitors within the Open Spaces Society,
Yeah.
and they're good. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
so it might be worth, you know, when you get, if you think, or if your people think I'm stuck, I'm not sure, then, I mean, Hugh Craddock wrote the last book, effectively, within the Bible,
Yeah.
you know.
I know Hugh,
Yes,
and his word is very authoritative.
yes, yeah. And so if he tells you something, then he will
It's
know,
gospel.
he will know more than anybody else.
Mm,
Okay.
definitely. Okay. Item A11, open access mapping review. Anything further to report?
No.
Okay.
Control, really, isn't it?
So I've sent something to Rafe, as you know, Rafe Barnett, who is, last time I know, had a role in local access forums, and I haven't heard anything back from him. So yeah, so I was hoping for something a bit official, but anyway, so I'll have another go with somebody else if I don't hear back from Rafe, but I thought I would.
A12 I'll leave because the DLAF work plan we'll deal with elsewhere on the agenda. Item A13, access to open access
I
islands.
think that's really the work.
That's, we're doing the Rowett. The Chapel Lane gates, A14. Pip, you've just popped up.
I did. I heard the Chapel Lane gates.
Progress.
So what's going on here? The gates are still there.
The sound is off.
My sound is off.
No sound.
I'm unmuted.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, I can hear you, Pip. So I'm not.
Right. It might be this end. Just bear with us.
Yeah.
If we take that in your report later.
Okay. Yeah.
To perhaps get a bit of technical support here. Item A15, the Chiddock Port route. I came through Chiddock this morning and I saw a sign saying Marsh Way.
Niche's Way. Niche's Way.
Niche's Way, is
Yeah,
it?
Niche's Way. Yeah, it commemorates the gentleman that did a lot of work to realise that he died before it was actually opened. Loads of work in. So yeah, they have a bit of stone and it's named after him.
See,
I was driving past and I just caught it on the side. Okay, well, it's very prominent. Anything further to add? No?
There's still, I think Philip raised it at the last meeting. My understanding from the Greenways Alliance is that they've got to the top of the hill. They now want to go down the hill to connect to Bridport, and there is still not having any further communication with the landowner. So there is this landowner block to be able to make that final connection.
Okay. Right, on to the substantive part of the agenda, item 4, the Dorset Council Green Space Management and Maintenance, in the absence of Russ.
Yeah, I've got a few statistics for you. Total jobs reported to us through our seaside system since the last meeting, the 21st of April, we've had 1,160 jobs in. I've got a breakdown of by area as well if anybody wants to have a look. And we've completed 836 of them. The vast majority of these are obviously vegetation clearance and cropping type issues, with a smattering of other issues being raised as well. Obviously, this is a very busy part of our season, as I'm sure you know, doing right of way work and all of our highway verges and site management works as well. Obviously, as you know, the ROIP is now up for its public consultation. It's going live either yesterday or today. Any further representations can be made via ROIP consultation at dorsetcouncil.gov.uk email address. I'm not sure if the intention is now to solely do individual comments. Obviously, lots of members have sent in some comments already to Russ and to Giles. But it would be best to go through that and kind of follow through on the questionnaire now if possible. In terms of our areas in the northern Purbeck bit, my area, we've been installing a fair few bridges in and around the Purbeck area in particular, with more to go in up in north, both in-house and by our contractors. As you just mentioned, we've been flying around putting all of our highway verges as well. Just about to start on the second cut. Lots of our sites that we maintain have once again attained the Green Flag Award, which is similar to the Blue Flag Award people get for beaches.
So is that the country parks?
Yeah, and some of my just open space nature reserves as well up in North Dorset. So places like the Milldown and Star Meadows, which they aren't officially country parks, they're just big nature reserves, public open spaces. We have them for there as well. And I know that there are plans to have more of our sites put in for the award as well. So we've got 2 new members of staff starting on Monday, both assistant rangers, one in the North team and one in the Purbeck team. So a lot of my time has been taken up with recruiting pretty much over the past year or so. The teams have this spring also changed 8 styles to gates. And we've recently been doing some resurfacing work and new handrails on the ramps, access ramps on the North Dorset Trailway in Blandford. We've also made a series of improvements to the access to the trailway in Charles Marshall. In the Western Coast area, drainage improvements on the new Chillick Bridleway to ensure protection of the surface. And it's still awaiting to be confirmed as a definitive bridleway. Obviously, that process takes a little while. Moonfleet Bridge and Boardwalk have been completed, which is funded by the South West Coast Path Association. There's been some surfacing of S36 and signage improvements on Portland, which was also funded by the South West Coast Path, Court Leet and Dorset Council funding as well. New bridge at Gore Cottage in Powerstock, another new bridge near Two Rivers in Beminster. Stuart's still awaiting confirmation of funding for the KC3 ECP improvements in his stretch. Had a bit of fencing rollback on the coast path at South Quill near Kimmeridge, again funded by the South West Coast Path. He's installed some steps on a very steep slope in Shipton Gorge, which was funded by the Shipton Gorge Heritage Group. Spearhay Lane, a landowner has agreed to clear and re-dig some ditches where they were creating a problem on the right of way, and some more bridges going in with contractors. In the central area, we're still awaiting the recruitment to the senior ranger post, Dave Ackley's old role. Unfortunately, the second round of recruitment, the person that we wanted to have in the post declined because we were a bit too far away from where they were based, which was a shame. He's installed, or at least 2 stiles have been installed in and around, gates have been installed instead of stiles in Tinkleton, and another one in Martinstown. New bridge, which has been funded by the Ramblers on the Jubilee Trail in Broadmain, and more bridges are planned to go in there as well. Over in the east of the county, Sophie and her team have been carrying out lots of countryside stewardship work on their sites, which is obviously improving the access and also the grazability for nature conservation purposes as well. As a kind of a general thing, we've all been working on our trailways, trying to extend and improve them. We've all had many planning applications to reply to. Some very, very large ones, 350, 500 home ones I've been looking at recently. We've all been dealing with recruitment and HR issues. Lots of diversion application consultations and many TTROs related to planners and housing developments as well. So it's certainly been a busy spring so far.
Okay, what's the actual technical hold up with the Chiddock dedication?
I understand that our legal services team are looking for the documents.
Okay,
Sorry, to be signed by. Okay.
That's my understanding.
Can I ask a question about the grazing areas on the east side of Dorset, which are some of them are on commons, and last time I looked many years ago, I did remind Dorset Council that if you have fencing on common land that has been granted permissions, that those permissions are sometimes only for 10 years and that they expired. So I think you may very well have illegal fencing on some of those commons. And I have mentioned this to people several times, that they need to be renewed, and nobody's ever sent anything through to me. So either it's bypassed me and I haven't been sent it, or nobody's done anything.
I would say that it is an oversight.
Yes. I think things like something Castle
Stevens Castle
could be.
Burwood, yeah.
I think that might be one of them.
Yeah.
I did have a list at one point, but time has
I'll put
elapsed
you
so
in touch,
greatly.
yeah.
I ought to speak to Sophie again,
Yeah.
hadn't I? As much as I hate to quibble and be pernickety, somebody else could come along and say, take that fence down.
Indeed.
And take you to court.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. No, we'll get on that.
Paul.
You gave us some seaside statistics in terms of reports and claims. What does that leave us with in terms of a pipeline and average delay to clear them? But I'm thinking particularly in terms of cropping obstruction, where if it's going to be stuck in the system for a few months, by the time something's done, the crop will have been cleared. So, is there any system to ensure that cropping obstructions do get hit quickly?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as soon as they come in, we contact the landowner and say, you need to cut through the crop, or clear it, or spray it out, or whatever method they choose to the appropriate width. Most do. There's very few that aren't then done before the next 2-3 weeks. So obviously, there's a 14-day allowance made from when we get in touch with them until they have to do it by, and most are done within that period or very shortly after.
I mean, there's an argument that if the landowner was doing their job correctly in the first place, we wouldn't have a problem, in the sense that after cropping activities, they have to have a 14-day window to reinstate the ban. Is there any mileage in a sort of an educational campaign at the right time of year to try and kill the problem at road?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, all of our regular customers, we do write to at the end of every season, reminding them of what they need to do for the following season. But yeah, I mean, I know Jackie wants to mention some bits about social media and the laugh later on. So that will be a very good thing to have on there. And certainly within the ROIP, there is an increased emphasis on putting out messages such as that more routinely through Dorset Council social media. So yeah, education on all of these little details is key, really.
We'll attempt. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Vanessa first, because I know you've got another meeting coming up. So if you give your report now. Thank you.
So, not from the last meeting, staffing issues, recruitment is underway to backfill for Rachel, who was our technical admin, who moved up into a case officer role. And we will be interviewing on Monday next week. So hopefully that will be successful and we will hopefully be fully staffed again soon. Obviously, there's been a bit of a knock on to output because of reshuffle. DMMOs total, we have 259 not started. Approximately 230 of those are from the British Horse Society as part of the 2026 project. We have 44 cases in progress, 33 of which are waiting to be sent to PINS for determination. 2 are currently with PINS, and that's Western at Portland, which is a very old case, which we're just trying to finalise, and the case of Mill Lane in Chiddock, which is going to inquiry on the 11th of August. So hopefully those 2 will be resolved soon. The planning inspectorate do still have a delay. So unfortunately, cases tend to move from our backlog to their backlog, but both parties are working hard on reducing that, and hopefully by next year, at least things that go to the planning inspectorate for determination won't be sat there for another year. Because currently what we're experiencing, that the published backlog for PINS is slightly optimistic. What we're experiencing isn't actually what's happening, but we are in communication with them about various issues. and they have had a lot of staffing issues there as well. So hopefully things will be resolved soon and they'll get back on track. Also with DMMOs since the last meeting, obviously progress has been a bit slower since Andy left because he was a full-time DMMO officer, but we are on the brink of confirming the Longham Lakes application at Ferndown. That is due to be advertised in the next few weeks. So that will be another link from the main road into Longham Lakes. Obviously, it's currently blocked with a locked gate, so that will need some attention, and we are working with Sophie on that. So she is aware that that will become necessary. So it may not be opened immediately, but we are working on it. With regard to public path orders, we currently have 5 not started, one of which is a Town and Country Planning Act application. 40 cases are in progress. Approximately half of those are Town and Country Planning Act applications, and we don't have any waiting to go to the Planning Inspectorate, which is good. And since the last meeting, these things have happened in a flurry. We've had 5 public path orders confirmed and 5 new orders made. So that's been quite a good output from us on that. So that's good progress, because we were worried that we were going to start accumulating a backlog of those again as well, but the team have been working really hard on that. So we're treading water, which is good. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add.
Thank you. I know you've got to rush off to another
That's all right,
meeting.
I
So
can stay
I think Paul wants to ask a question.
Obviously, this is all good news, and in particular, you've been fully staffed as of the next week or so. And you from that move to a forecast of what the backlog will be when you're in what you would call sort of steady state conditions?
That's quite a tricky question, because cases, as you know, take as long as they take.
Yeah.
The public path orders have gone particularly well recently, and you know we're taking that as good news. The DMMOs, hopefully we will start to reduce what I call the active waiting list, which are the cases where we've had full landowner notification and we then have a duty to investigate those. So hopefully we will start to whittle those down once we're up to full speed with training and things like that. So it's very difficult to estimate. I know the backlog sounds horrific, and it is. It's really concerning for everyone, not just us, but for people involved as well, and landowners and the public and everyone. But I think the actual active waiting lists, hopefully we can start to reduce that, and I would optimistically say that next year I would like to be able to reduce it further, and maybe cases wouldn't have to wait 5-10 years before we get to them, because it just makes it really hard for everybody, because the longer you wait, the harder it is to do the investigation. Witnesses disappear, memories fade, and it becomes very difficult. But I really couldn't put a figure on it, I'm afraid.
I've got a question. Ask if it was finished.
Well, the other leg to the question is this wodge of VHS applications that seem to have been hanging over us for what 3-4 years now. What needs nudging to actually either clear them out or move them forward?
It is capacity time, but could I just say, in Wiltshire, it's 90 years
I was about to say that exact same thing, bearing in mind I've got a access forum meeting there tomorrow.
So I think 10 years, we've got to count ourselves fairly fortunate.
That's for the active waiting list. The real waiting list is about 20, but if it's not 90, I'm.
Wiltshire is 90.
Yeah.
If a baby born today puts in an application,
Yeah,
it's unlikely to live to see it go
yeah.
through.
Doesn't make it okay though, does it?
It doesn't make it okay. It does not make it okay.
And presumably a fair few people who are the source of evidence on these applications are unlikely to live to see them activated.
I'm afraid so. In some of the user evidence, I've seen a public inquiry where I'm not going to mention the inquiry, but we had one person who was suffering fairly poorly from cancer. Another one was fairly confused due to age about the evidence being given. And I think another one died just before they could give evidence. So you can see how challenging it is to discern where the truths lie.
This is why we revamped our statement of priorities a while ago to take account of the fact that we do have some very old cases, some of which are based on user evidence, and it does make it increasingly difficult. So we do try to prioritise cases that are predominantly based on user evidence. Unfortunately, the downside of that is that it means that cases such as the BHS applications, if and when they are ready to go, they're still some way down the priority list because documentary evidence tends not to go away, whereas witnesses do. And it's very unfortunate, and it's a very difficult situation to manage, but we do the best we can.
And is this a national problem? So there is a sort of a national issue that needs to be addressed. There needs to be another process.
And definitely no, definitely no.
Everybody knows, we've been telling them for years.
Yeah.
It's not a new problem.
And you can go to PINs with non-determination because something hasn't been determined within a year. And PINs will just throw it back and say, well, the council's got to deal with it as soon as practical. But there is no peril for the council. There's no fine if they don't do within a certain date. So basically, it's just what it's done when you can.
This is what happened with the Longham Lakes application. It was appealed because we didn't determine within a year. And the planning inspectorate turned around and said, okay, you've got 6 months to deal with it. So we put everything else on hold to deal with this because 6 months to do a DMMO is possible, but it does mean that other things have to fall by the wayside. And so you end up with things jumping the queue.
And I'm assuming kind of our local MPs, because Edward Morello has been very, very good at sort of speaking about lots of issues, and they've sort of raised this in government. I mean, it's been raised.
It has been raised periodically. We do have the Deregulation Act, which we are still waiting to be implemented, which will help in some ways, but not in others. It's just never anybody's priority, and governments are reshuffling, as we know, on a fairly rapid basis. And so it just keeps falling off people's radar. And DEFRA have had a lot of issues as well. There's staffing issues in DEFRA. That doesn't help.
So I want to ask, so you've got a big DMMO backlog. Philip, with the British Law Society, I know there's quite a lump of that backlog is DMMOs put in by the British Law Society. A lot of them, from what I understand, having looked at them, are to change UUCRs to byways open to all traffic. And I guess I'd like to understand the logic behind that, because a UUCR probably has higher rights than what a byway open to all traffic, or it's probably the same rights because it would allow the same type of traffic down that. So if we wanted to reduce the backlog, why are we putting a bunch of DMMOs in that are changing UCRs or UUCRs to boats when one really is the other?
But there's,
Or is it because it'll bring it into the rights of way and countryside and away from highways or something?
there's a subtle distinction legally between UCRs and byways open to all traffic. And a UCR is recorded on the council's list of streets, which is a list of maintenance liability.
Yep.
Most of the routes on the list of streets don't record status. It's just that these are publicly maintainable and they are publicly maintainable to a certain standard. The vast majority of them are roads and are used by vehicles every single day. But it's still not a legal record of status. And the applications from the British Horse Society will determine the status of these routes, and probably 99% of them will turn out to have motor vehicular rights, and we will then be able to deal with that. But the benefit of it is for the public, that status then becomes recorded on the definitive map and has all the protections that go with that, because things disappear from the list of streets for various reasons and have done over many years. Routes have fallen off, they've been added on, and because there's no legal process to go through to change the list of streets, things don't have the same level of protection. Routes that are recorded on the definitive map and statement have a really high level of protection, and then those access rights are basically enshrined in law, and if anyone wants to do anything with them, they have to go through a full legal process. And so that is the aim of the British Horse Society application. So whilst they might take a slightly lower priority because most of these routes are currently accessible and are currently used, and the change in status may not actually make any immediate difference to anybody on the ground, ultimately it's a really good thing to do because it will protect those routes and create certainty for landowners and the public, and all the other reasons why the definitive map needs to be as up to date as possible.
Okay.
Not looking
Thank you.
convinced.
I know. Thank you for the explanation. Obviously, you know, I am a motorised user as well as on foot, as I've stated before. My concern is on behalf of the TRF and stuff like that, that you open that can of work. How many does that then allow you to make that a byway, but a restricted byway? And we've already talked about the how few miles there are within Dorset for motorised users. It's worrying because since NERC, we can't add any new information to get something made up to a boat, right? Is my understanding. So we want to protect what we've got, and this, I'm just scared on behalf of our community that this is a backdoor way into creating a lot more restricted byways.
It may not, because it depends on the evidence, because something has to fit the definition of a byway open to all traffic or a restricted byway, and that is part of our investigation. And if it doesn't meet that definition, we won't record it. We will leave it as a route recorded on the list of streets because we believe it's a carriageway. So a certain number of the routes are likely to not be recorded. We don't know until we begin the investigation, but it could well turn out that basically we're just clarifying that the routes on the list of streets are full carriageways and are fully accessible to motorised users. Until we get there, we're not going to know, but I do appreciate your concerns, and there may well be some routes that you are currently using as UCRs, which may become recorded as restricted byways, in which case the public motor access will be denied.
Which is our concern.
Yeah, I understand that. I really do, but I'm afraid until we get to it, we're not going to know. So make the most of the backlog.
Maybe I'll be dead by then, but I shouldn't stop caring.
No, absolutely not.
you're looking for rather good health to me.
Oh, yeah, don't worry,
It's a-
Philip. I'm going to be around for years to annoy you yet. Don't worry.
Just on the national situation, the Ramblers and the British Horse Society and the Open Spaces Society have got paid staff who are continually lobbying at the national level about this. So it is something that everybody is aware of, but it's just getting anybody actually at government level to shift.
Just the frustration, and for your team, I mean, it must be the most demoralising thing to just be working. I can't imagine how frustrating it is.
This is why we celebrate
Yeah.
the wins. We produced all our other backlogs. It's just the DMMOs we're struggling with now. So we're a lot better off than a lot of other authorities. Andy?
Do you have a minute before you dash, or I?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure 2 or 3 years ago now, something came out of Whitehall that said you were being encouraged to get, or possibly required, to get your definitive map statements online. So the public could actually see the definitive map statement as well as the route on the ground. Is that in your work stack at all?
It's not. I appreciate that it has been raised, I think, at this meeting a couple of times, and I'm afraid I will hold my hands up and say it's something that's slipped off my to-do list. We will investigate with our GIS team the possibility of doing that. There are obviously going to need to be health warnings with it, in the same way that the rights of way information on Dorset Explorer carries a disclaimer, because we would probably need to put online our working copy of the definitive statement, which there are health warnings obviously with it. If people want to see the original sealed 1989 version, it's not going to be very helpful to them. We are always willing to provide that information if anyone asks. It is accessible to us. To allow free access online, as maybe a link within Dorset Explorer or something like that, is something that we can investigate. And leave it with me, Paul, and I'll see what I can find out and we'll report back.
Okay,
You need to note that there's some questions coming up there because we can't hear the online participants.
right.
So another go.
Alex.
Following.
Do you want to come online? Can you speak? Is it working?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Anybody in the room? In the room, can you hear me?
Yeah,
IT
Yes.
and
I can hear you.
recording this meeting today to unmute people, and we can't, and I can't do it on that screen either. So
Right.
apologies. I don't know why, but we can't unmute people.
Okay.
Alex now appears to be unmuted.
Testing.
Hi, yes, I am here and I have unmuted. The Teams, I think the Teams link had got sort of jumbled by being forwarded a few times. I had to go right back to the beginning to find it.
Hey.
I put a question in the chat, which is classic me. It's like, if there's a problem, what can we do? Instead of just accepting there is a problem with this backlog, is there anything that would substantially help clear the backlog for Dorset? Is it more staffing? Is it more money? Or is it the legislation which is just so slow?
It's a combination of all three. More staff would be the quickest way to help. More money equals more staff. And the legislation, as I said, there are some good things and bad things in the Deregulation Act. Once it is implemented, it would be interesting to see how that pans out on a practical level. But basically, we need more bodies doing the work. That is the only way to get through it.
Is there a sort of any sort of easy correlation between the amount of time it takes and how much, well, basically how much staff time does each application, or every 10 applications, how much staff time does it actually take? Or is that just impossible to add up?
It's almost impossible. We estimate generally that one full-time, fully trained member of staff should be able to process between 6 and 10 DMMO applications a year. That obviously varies to quite a large degree on the complexity of the case and the people involved. Sometimes it will be more, sometimes it will be less.
And how many full-time trained staff have you actually got at the moment?
1 and a bit.
Okay. Right.
I'm just talking about DMMOs here.
Yeah, that's just DMMOs. Yeah. Okay.
Because
right.
Rachel is learning still.
Well, thanks for that. What about the other ones? Do they take up more time or less time?
So you mean public path orders?
Public path orders.
They're generally quicker. There are, again, always exceptions, but generally they are quicker. And we have 2 members of staff working full-time on those. And as you will see from the figures, we are pretty much keeping pace with the rate of applications. They are flat out, but they are managing. So yeah, we're not too concerned about that at the moment. Obviously, with planning applications increasing and applications for diversions or stoppings up under Town and Country Planning Act, when they increase, that causes us problems because we have to work to deadlines, because we have to get them done before the development is substantially complete. And that means that other more standard diversions under the Highways Act tend to take a back seat. But at the moment, we are managing quite well. Whether or not that will continue, I don't know, because we're very much dependent on the rate of influx.
Thank you for that. I just need to get in my head what sort of a mountain we're actually looking at. You know, you get the feeling that it's just like a great big bundle of paperwork that nobody's ever going to get at, just like clearing Granny's attic or something. It's just, you can't start.
Well, we hope to start. We haven't forgotten anything. Everything is on a list somewhere, and we are slowly working through. It doesn't help when we have a staff turnover, obviously, because it does take a long time to learn the ropes. It's a complex issue, but we're optimistic. We have good people in post, and hopefully we'll get someone else good in soon, and things will pick up.
How is staff retention? Do you can imagine staff just getting so frustrated that they give up and go and find another job, or do they stick with you forever?
Generally, people stick. When Andy left in January, he'd been with us 16 years. So people tend to come in and stay despite the backlog, because it's an interesting area of work. And if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, we appreciate it's a bit niche, but people do find it interesting and it's a good team to work in. So they do tend to stay, and that's been proven by the fact that people have 2 people now in recent years have started as technical assistant and then have moved up into case officer roles because they wanted to stay and continue to do the work.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Right.
Question from Jackie as well.
Jackie.
Oh, hi there. Yes. Yeah, as I was asking, you mentioned, thank you, Vanessa, for your contributions and your work. You mentioned that the case that you had to sort of bring forward on because the applicant appealed to the inspectorate under the Town and Country 12-month planning regulation meant that you then had to focus on that particular DMMO application. So if that were the case, that anybody, you know, after waiting for a year could then appeal for a review, how would that work in practicality, given your constraints with resources in actioning these?
We just keep everything crossed that we don't get too many at once, because I don't know how we would deal with that. If we get one at a time, we can put other things aside and focus on it and achieve the planning inspectorate's deadlines. As Philip pointed out, or sorry, I can't remember, that there don't appear to be any penalties for not meeting their deadlines, but we've never wanted to test that. And the system is in place for a reason. However, given our backlog, if everybody decided to appeal at once, I really don't know what would happen. And I suspect that would have an impact on our staff retention.
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Right, we'll go back to, thank you very much, Vanessa. We go back to item 5, which is the BCP Council Green Space Management and Maintenance. If you're there, hopefully you can speak to us.
Testing, can you hear me in the room?
Yep.
Ah, cracking. All right, here we go then. Let me just load up my little PowerPoint. Which might take a second, but we already know what the first item is. Can you see this now?
Yes. Thank you.
Lovely. All right. So BCP Rights Away, July 2026, little update. We're not going to keep you very long because I know you want to get on with the Rights Away Improvement Plan stuff. So news first, and most importantly, we say a very big hello to Helly Gray, who has joined us as our new Rights Away officer. Say hello, hi.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Hi, everyone. Yeah, as Pip says, I'm Helly, and I've been working at BCP Council now for, sorry, I've been working in BCP Council Rights Away team for a few weeks with Pip. Before that, I was in Legal and Democratic Services at Poole Council, and then I moved on up to Building Control team, which was partly in Poole Council. Then, of course, as you know, we all merged, then we were under BCP Council. Yes, I'm there with Pip now. I think this is about my 4th week, isn't it, Pip? I think.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, so no 2 days are ever the same in the public rights of way role, which is great. And I really like that. It's very interesting and a very varied topic, as you guys all know, and get lots of contacts with lots of different people, including our residents, our councillors, landowners. I've already been out on several visits to locations throughout the 3 towns, mostly at the moment sort of overgrown vegetation, tree root concerns, that sort of thing so far. But I know Pip's getting me involved in the sort of the all the other stuff as well. So yeah, it's just a really interesting role. Most weekends I'm out clocking up some miles myself, enjoying the Dorset and surrounding countryside. I'll be in my walking boots, my rucksack, packed lunch, camera and binoculars, taking in what I love most, which is nature and wildlife and the great outdoors. So yeah, just looking forward to working with you guys, and bit of a rookie at the moment still, but yeah, I'm looking forward to learning the role and what Pip has in store for me.
Thank you, Helly.
Yes, thank you, Helly, and welcome aboard. Okay, so just a few items then, for your interest. Only small sort of updates. Camera survey update. I know people are interested in the old idea of the Street View survey. It's taken the better part of most of this year to even get through our. We've got a data protection assessment that we have to do. Fortunately, that has sort of moved ahead a little bit. We had a conversation with. We've got some third-party legal beagle who is assessing that for us now. So hopefully we're going to get a positive result from that. We don't know it yet, but if we do, then I'm really hoping we can finally send Helly out with the camera and we can start recording all of these parts, maybe onto Google Street View. So looking forward to that, hopefully. So we got the Stour Valley update and also the BCP local plan ideas. So let me show you these. Okay, so Stour Valley. This part is in Parley. Some of you may be aware of the very large array of solar panels which gained planning permission not so long ago. And as part of that, we have a condition attached to it, which aims to create a new publicly accessible path along this nice yellow line here. So we've secured that by condition. We've yet to actually get it sort of materially sorted on the ground. That work now begins. I'm just going to give you a quick virtual site visit, really, just some nice pictures to look at, because me and Helly went out last week just to scope it out. And I think what we've asked for really is just at least 4 meters clear next to the river. The river is just along here. It's actually really lovely as it is. And actually, most of it is completely accessible. Even though members of the public aren't necessarily allowed down there, it has to be said, we didn't have any problems whatsoever actually getting through and using this path today. There's going to be a few things we're going to need to upgrade, certainly upgrading some gates to make it more access compliant. Got some narrow sort of old tech gates, need something a little bit better than that. But otherwise, this is a really cracking path, and it's going to form, you know, a key part of the Stour Valley project. It's going to be another sort of leg of the whole route as it passes through. As I say, there's going to be a little bit of work to do, maybe moving this fence back. Hopefully we can do something with these tents, get them out of the way. But even if we can't do that much on that side, we can still do things on the other side, just a bit of vegetation clearance. We've got some bridges that we need to replace. We might just take care of this as part of our capital program. We can easily afford that. There's only 1 or 2 bridges like this that we're going to need to completely replace, get something really nice and wide there. And then there's just odd things, like, for example, near the end of this particular stretch of path, we've got a head wall, an outfall here, which drains some of the drainage culverts on Parley Gulf into the River Stour over here. So access is a little bit restricted around here. Wondering about the scope of trying to sort of move into the side here, but actually it just comes out. I think at the moment Parley Gulf appear to be using this as a bit of a storage area, but we could get this cleared out. So very optimistic with the creation of that leg of the Stour Valley. So that will be coming forth.
This would be a bridle. This will be a bridle.
We will absolutely push for a bridleway. Yes, that is, and all the structures that you will see there, the bridge, it'll be to bridle path specification. So that's what we have in mind. Certainly, yeah, the 4 meters that we secured is easily wide enough for that. So it should be, yeah, we'll be meeting with the developers to secure that very, very soon. Now, further to the northwest, that is in Camford, a planning application has come in for about 1,000 new properties. I think it's Camford School up around here. So if we zoom in just a little bit, essentially the Stour Valley Way goes through the middle of this site. I should have probably drawn it on. You can see it'll go through the middle. If we zoom in, we can see they have in fact labeled it, which is great that the developers are paying attention. So this planning application, yeah, so outline planning permission, the consultation I think is just closed for this one. But it looks as though they're on the right track. They have labeled this Stour Valley Way linear park. And from what we can tell, the path, which currently is sort of awkwardly shared as a vehicular access for AFC Bournemouth training ground, would be reclaimed just for the use of pedestrians only and riders, if possible. So that is the idea. This becomes a linear park. We don't have sort of more specific plans than this. It's just sort of an overview plan. But obviously, things to consider there. That we really want this to be a very high quality route. We want to get as much sort of value for fulfilling the vision of the Stour Valley Park as we possibly can out of this. Still, details to be agreed on all of this. But of course, we've got to consider sort of what's going to be the impact of all these additional people right next to this path. They're going to be additional path users. We're going to be looking to also hopefully obtain funds from this to achieve more legs of the Stour Valley upgrades as we go along further to the east from here. We're going to need controlled crossings on or one controlled crossing on Ringwood Road. And then we're going to be looking at implementing further paths from Millams through to New Road. We'll hopefully have some plans to look at for the next leg of that very soon. And otherwise, it's just as part of the BCP local plan, we've been invited to sort of look at sites to try and rescue them from overdevelopment, because the problem that we have is that even the routes which are necessarily protected as public rights of way will have land either side, which might not strictly be protected by order, but still forms an important part of the route itself. So here's the Upton Trailway. We want this protected by policy, absolutely no development up to people's existing boundary lines. This is about protecting the openness. You'll also see as it goes further south, we have ambitions to connect through to Hamworthy Station along here. And we already have the industrial estate down here sort of excavating into what would be an extension of the Castleman Trailway, and planning policy will need to be used there to stop that from happening as well. So it's all about just protecting one of these nice routes. The Roman Road, obviously an important one for us because it's historic. Direct has useful links onwards. Again, it's under pressure from surrounding residents all the way along there. So getting that protected by policy, and of course, the whole of the Stour Valley Way will have a sort of an umbrella policy over it. Hopefully to better protect it from this sort of zigzag effect you can see over the years. It sort of gets diverted. And actually, there's something to be said about trying to retain not just the fact that you can actually physically pass from one end to the other, but also that it doesn't actually end up being sort of a zigzag sort of maze and sort of less linear and direct. We want to retain sort of the character and the quality of the Stour Valley Path, not just the ability to actually get from one end of it to the other. So yeah, we're going to be pushing for protective policies for that as well. Actually, that is the end of our little presentation. Oh, and of course, you wanted the Chapel Lane upgrade update. Sorry. So Chapel Lane, the gates on there. What we're trying to do at the moment is, I mean, even though it's an enforcement issue at the moment, we have the new bridleway completely off-road now. That is now open and available for use. I did note that there was evidence of equestrian use when I went down there. So that is now open and should be used preferentially by anybody going down there. I don't see why anybody would want to use the on-road route at the moment, even though it is technically a bridleway. So what we're going to be doing is, as part of their new planning application, because they're going to be extending their facilities even further at Eco, we're going to be tidying up the fact that there is this existing on-road bridleway that really needs to be closed off. We now have a really decent, fully off-road bridleway there. So that then becomes formalized as a bridleway all the way up, and that should hopefully be the problem solved. So that is the way we're approaching Chapel Lane. Are there any further questions?
That's going on the definitive map as a new bridleway.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Nicola.
Can I ask the development, the Canford development that you were talking about with the Canford Park Riverside Sang at the bottom next to the river, and you've got the Stour Valley Way going through the housing estate. Is there a reason why you're not sort of relocating the Stour Valley Way next to the river through the Canford Park Riverside Sang?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of purely from a designation perspective, yes, we could absolutely do that to actually put the official designation right next to the river. I don't necessarily have a decent plan to show this, but essentially you'd end up sort of hugging the river, but then you'd need to come back. I believe there are paths back in. We'll have to look into that as part of this development. But I think the ambition really is that if we were to sort of take it close to the river, we'd also want to have this river crossing, so an additional bridge. There is actually an existing bridge there, and I'm trying to work with Bex Johnson Smith in the heathland mitigation team to sort of figure out how we can create that river crossing, and then that would put the Stour Valley Way really, as you say, right next to the river.
The path goes to along the river as far as the bridge, the Canford Bridge. That is it, Canford? No, it's probably anyway the one that goes up Oakley Hill. So and then goes to Gravel Hill. So it does go along the river as far as that, doesn't it? With some sort of odd boardwalk. And I can understand why you might want two paths, because I think that the Canford Sang probably does flood in the winter, doesn't it?
Very much.
But during the summer, people are walking along there now, and so yeah, it's okay. Okay. It just seems that that's where people will walk, in fact, by choice.
Yeah, as you say, it would be good to retain obviously our existing public right of way to just protect access really there. But certainly there is going to be scope for looking into redesignating the official sort of route of the path right next to the river. So yeah, work continues on scoping that out really.
Right. Thank you very much. Oh, Paul, you have a further question.
This is all very good stuff, thank you, Pet. In terms of letting the public have visibility of what's there, the logic is to have this all visible on Dorset Explorer, which in turn means it's got to be visible on the OS, which in turn presumably means you need to push through some public path orders or similar to formally create these routes and so on. What does that mean in terms of resources and timelines and so
on? In terms of, you're saying what we would be creating new public rights of way as part of this development or the entire sort of Stour Valley area?
Well, it's just a question of how do the public get visibility of these access rights that you're creating? And the Stour Valley project is a good starting point.
Yeah, in terms of promotion, yes. I mean, that is sort of something that we're tackling from different angles, isn't it? I mean, the idea of sort of getting the paths onto Google Street View is that as soon as highways are created, they'd pop on there and people will be able to sort of scope out the paths from that perspective. But I think part of the whole Stour Valley project will have a promotional element to it, especially when we can actually sort of tell people we have achieved the additional paths. So certainly, as soon as we do actually sort of create something substantial, more sort of joined up, we can definitely sort of factor in some kind of promotional effort there, you know, through the usual channels really, sort of local news, maybe get something in the Echo and all the rest of it. Certainly, yes, as this thing sort of moves along, you're right that the public are going to need to know about it, and also hopefully, you know, there's a strong word of mouth component as well. People do take an interest in it, so social media, I guess, will sort of play into it. but open to ideas as to how we could do that better.
Right, with no further questions. Thank you very much indeed, Pip and Helly. And we'll now break for some coffee and we'll come back. We're running a bit late. We'll move on to item 7, which is the draft Dorset County Rights of Way Improvement Plan, the ROIP. Discuss the preparation of the DLAF's formal response. Now, you've had emails come out and the presentation online. So any comments that we want to make further to the ones that we've already circulated around?
I'd just like to make a comment about the suggestion of using compulsory purchase orders, because I think that is both inflammatory and I think completely out of context with what is trying to be achieved. At the end of the day, there are a number of different elements that relate to this. One is the belief that there are a significant number of actions within ELMS or SFI that pay for farmers and landowners to put rights of way in. That's absolutely incorrect. There are only 4 actions in entirety, and some of those are related to only those eligible for high tier stewardship and not general access. The payments are also, I'd say, pretty derisory as well when you're looking at what is required to maintain a right of way. So when one looks at the whole picture, it adds, I think it's a really inflammatory thing to incorporate, and something that I would be 100% against. There is an element to it as well that I don't think is appreciated, and that is the diminution payments that are required when using this type of process costs the council significant amounts of money. And as we were hearing earlier around areas of budget being available to simply clear DMMOs, I very much doubt there is going to be budget available to do this type of work. So if that is the case, what is the point of even putting it in the first place when it is nothing more than an inflammatory statement?
I suggested that.
Could I support that 100%? That would be a stance that I could guarantee would cause dissension and opposition within my parish to the trailway.
If you're trying to engage and you're trying to encourage and you're trying to work with landowners and farmers to create extensions or do things, absolutely fantastic. Doing so with a loaded shotgun next to their head saying, and if you don't, we're going to slap a compulsory purchase order on you. It is going to cost significant sums of money. It's going to cause nothing more than absolute resentment. And the other thing is it's going to take such a long period of time because it will be fought from here to kingdom come by anybody who is put in that situation. I don't see the benefit of putting in anything relating to compulsory purchase orders within the ROIP.
I think if it's worded correctly though, and I do hear what you're saying, and I do understand that it could be triggering. I think if it's worded correctly, it is saying that it's exactly a last resort for circumstances where significant public benefit is being withheld by a small number of resistant landowners for the greater good, in the same way that you would use that if you were creating a rail network or a road network. And I know it is very triggering, but there are a number of trailways throughout the county that are being stopped by, and that would be massively for the public good and link up a lot of very effective networks that are being stopped by these blocks. And I think there has been so much work for decades to try and realise the full potential of these networks, and they're being held up. And I think something like that would then make people aware that there is, the council have that as an option anyway. I think just to gently name it would encourage people to actually reflect on the greater kind of community benefit of those routes.
If that's gently naming it, then Attila Hun was really quite mild, because the wording there is incredibly inflammatory. I showed it to a couple of landowners, not saying that this was something that was going to be within the ROIP. I just showed them to say, this is an example of some text of a suggestion what is your immediate thought? And both of them recoiled in absolute horror. So, and I did that, and it was out of context, so it wasn't related to the anything to do with the county of Dorset, and it was with two landowners who sit outside of the county as well, to make sure that it was completely separated from what is being discussed here. And they recoiled with horror. They were both absolutely adamant that anything like that, if they were being threatened, one of them rightly turned around and said, well, hang on a minute, if the council was to do what the government should have done in the first place and actually provide decent payments for the provision of rights of way, we'd look at it in a completely different way. I think there is a much better way of doing this than the threat of, or including wording around the threat of compulsory purchase orders.
So I would support rewording, but I think what is suggested in there is correct. I mean, that statement is correct, that the council does theoretically have those options, don't they?
Paul. I don't as of now have a view on that specific issue, because I simply haven't had time to read the document yet. But in terms of the question that's on the agenda, it's about process rather than specific issues. And can we be reminded what the consultation response deadline is, so we can work back from that to decide how we're going to respond?
Well, I've just looked on the council website and it's not up there yet, Graham.
I will take that back. I mean, I've got an email here from Giles. 3-month consultation live from today. Admittedly, this is just sent to a load of internal Rangers staff, but he sent it at 6 minutes to 11. The open and closing dates are today through to the 21st of October.
Thank you.
As I mentioned at the start, the road consultation at dorsetcouncil.gov.uk is the place to log it. But I can.
Is the
Whether it's at 1 minute of midnight today that it'll go live, I do not know.
Is the consultation online suitable, because Janet's brought this up before, for a joint response, or is it all really aimed at individual responses?
I don't know.
Well, Giles did show us when we had the webinar. He showed us, and it is like the usual thing. 5 point, I agree a lot, I agree a little bit, I don't agree, that kind of thing. And then a block for free text, if I recall correctly. So that is a difficulty for.
I mean, we are, as far as the ROIP is concerned, we are a statutory consultee, and the Act says quite clearly we should be consulted. And if we have views to offer, we write a letter to the council giving them those views. It's their problem how they map it onto their consultation response form. So what we need is a sort of process in which by that date everybody puts their ideas on the table, and we then, as on this particular issue, there's a consensus position to be raised.
Not by that date. We've got to work
then
backwards.
put that on into the council. But it's getting that sort of process defined as what we need to sort today.
We might have to set up a working group for as many that want to attend it, so that we can formulate a committee response before the 21st of October. It's asking a lot to do it all in one hit in this meeting.
Oh, impossible.
It's impossible. So we just need to have some sort of framework. I hear what's said about compulsory purchase. I know in the case of Devon, that county council has used it for creation of trails on a very infrequent basis. I think it was only on 2 or 4 occasions. it is a tool in the box. I accept that having it worded very bluntly could be perceived as a shotgun to the head, but it is nonetheless there. We are looking to improve the rights of way. After all, it's a given in the title, Rights of Way Improvement Plan, where you have a particular route that is for the benefit of the wider public. How do we as a committee see that if there is a final small length of path that has to go through a particular area, how is the council to respond to that? How do we feel that should be done? What are our thoughts?
I think a lot of it comes down to both location, length, purpose, because 50 of intended path running between the end of a right of way or a part of a right of way and another right of way that makes a perfect circular route, whatever it may be, that's a completely different context to looking at 11 miles of path that needs to be put from point X to point Y to provide two joining points between two completely separate trailways or footpaths, rights of way. So context is absolutely essential when it comes to these things. And I think I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's very, very difficult to be able to describe a process that one would follow unless it actually has the physical context on the ground.
Are these existing trailways, and how did, I presume that British Rail sold them back to the landowners?
Is it British Rail or is it, I mean, what are we talking about here? Because
Talking about what so for any attempt to create a trailway, and it could be former railway lines, it could be through non-railway lines, and it is, I mean, it does say in the statement I suggested, and it was only suggested wording, that as a last resort, and that the powers exist precisely for circumstances where significant public benefit is being withheld. So it's not saying that will be the default position, but it's just naming that this is an option. And I think that awareness would be useful. But yeah, sorry, in answer to your question, it would be not just former railways. It's just for the creation of these routes.
Okay, but as Janet pointed out, and Paul pointed out, we need a process anyway for flashing this out, and we need a working group, and we need to be able to work towards a date which is presumably well before the 21st of October, so that a final draft can be created.
As the power already exists, I think to actually restate this power that already exists within the document just comes across as a threat. And for that reason, I think we should stay completely clear of it. Ultimately, there may be a very tiny number of occasions where ultimately the council has to use the power which they already have. Mm-hmm. But they've expressed to me on a number of occasions that it will only be as a last resort, and I think that's the correct way to use it.
Oh, I've got the text in front of me now, but I can't actually get to it quickly where this is mentioned. But why does it actually use the terminology compulsory purchase order? I wonder why it doesn't just simply say use section 26 of the Highways Act.
It does say, should I read?
Please, yeah.
It says, where negotiation and voluntary agreement with landowners fails to deliver strategically important trailway links within a reasonable time frame, Dorset Council will consider the use of path creation orders under section 26 of the Highways Act 1980 or compulsory purchase and powers under the Highways Act 1980 and Cycle Tracks Act 1984 as a last resort. The Council recognises that these powers exist precisely for circumstances where significant public benefit is being withheld by a small number of resistant landowners. Now, by all means tweak that, but I think it does say as a last resort, and yeah,
I'm just wondering why they go as far as compulsory purchase order when there's section 26 of the Highways Act.
I've no idea.
No.
I can't answer that. I haven't played any part in writing. it, so
No. Mm. No. Well,
I have,
no.
but not that bit.
Because Section 26 of the Highways Act is specifically for creating new public rights of way.
It's section 20. It enables everything that one would want to do. But to my mind, this creates two things. The first thing, the use of a small number of resistant landowners, is inflammatory in itself. If somebody's resisting having a right of way put through their land, they have the right to do so. They genuinely do. As any one of us who owns land, you know, we have a right and we have a duty to protect the land that we own and we steward and we look after. But at the same point in time, the Act provides everything that is needed for the council to do what they need to do. I don't think there's any point or any necessity to actually, in a sort of Damocles way, say, oh, and by the way, if you are resistant, if you don't agree with what we as the state wishes you to do, then we will compulsory purchase your land, which is how often people will read that. I know it may well be that the wording can be softened slightly, but when you've got certain phraseologies in there, I think it is
Red rag to a bull.
Yes, it really is.
Okay, so it's, the power exists.
I mean, that's the thing, like you could generically have a sentence like that in there. Ultimately, the council will use whatever legal means it deems necessary to create a route. I mean, it's there.
The power is there. We can't take away the power.
Right.
It's just how the power is worded.
It
perhaps,
would
I
be
suppose.
used in exceptional circumstances. It would not be used.
I just think it should be like the council will use any legal means necessary.
I mean, that's
Where required, Dorset Council will consider the use of path creation orders under Section 26 of the Highways Act 1980 or compulsory purchase powers under the Highways Act 1980 and the Cycle Tracks Act 1984 as a last result. If that is incorporated, in fact, you could even leave the last bit out because you don't even need it.
Yeah.
So if you literally just had that singular line in there without the opening bit of, if you don't voluntarily agree to failure, you know, within a reasonable time frame. Yeah,
I'm confident that both Russ and Giles will be interested and not want to inflame. So having that section of reworded, I think, would be incredibly useful.
I think your suggestion actually of just having that middle sentence sounds like a fair compromise because it's naming it.
May I ask which page we're on?
Oh, no, it's not in there. It was my suggestion.
No, well, but where this is currently written, as it says.
It was in my feedback that I sent in on the first.
Oh, okay. I beg your pardon. Oh, right.
Yeah.
As it's not currently in there, just suggest leaving it out completely. Not adding it at all.
Well, we were asked for feedback, so my feedbacking, that was one of the points of feedback, and I think there is an argument to say that, and as you've just suggested, including that sentence would be useful. Or to suggest that that's feedback.
I mean, it's always possible when we eventually have produced a response for us to say that it isn't. I'm sure there's a phrase that they use in official circles when there isn't 100% agreement within the parties that are making the comment that, you know, we could put in a sentence to that effect, but hopefully. We don't need to do that. We can find a compromise.
We want to try and get the compromise position that we can all agree on. So it's just.
I think it should be mentioned in there somewhere that the council will use, you know, legal means to get this up. But I think that suggestion was very good compromise there.
So are we going to have a working group or?
I would suggest that is the best way forward.
Okay, I said 10 minutes ago, but I don't have a view on this because I haven't read it yet.
That's
that is still true, and I'm sure a compromise wording can be found. But this is just one of many issues on which we'll have to reconcile conflicting views. So we need to get those views, need to get the issues on the table as step one. And we then need some sort of working group process to chew through the list.
Is it best to have a physical working group in a room like this around a table, or do it online? Around the
I would
table.
say much easier on round the table.
I'd agree with you entirely, but I wanted to bring you with me rather than.
I can look at organising rooms for you. Just need to know how many people, what dates, and whether you'd like tea and biscuits.
Open to everybody. How many would like to attend? Just give a.
I feel I should, seeing it's a council based thing.
And if anybody on screen that is
it Jackie?
Jackie, would you like to
Probably
come
not
in the
Philip
room?
or
Well, shall we just say we'll make it so that we can accommodate all the members of the LAF
yeah, okay.
in the room, so we don't exclude, and we circulate some dates.
Is everybody happy to come back here again? That's sensible thing to do.
And if we could have paper copies, so we can
park.
Sorry. Yeah, I can't.
Sorry,
I mean, basically, Wednesdays are always really bad. So any day but a Wednesday, I would suggest.
Any day
not a Friday, because that's all door.
Tuesday a day or Wednesday?
It's Tuesday today.
It's Wednesday's market day.
Wednesday's
The girl I asked today, she said Tuesdays are the worst day.
All right.
No, it's market
Wednesday's
day.
Anyway,
To make
Go for
that
Monday.
feedback efficient, will people be asked to to collate all of that information in advance and then us be provided with what the suggestions are going to be?
Yeah,
So we
I think
can,
that would be
so
best.
we can actually,
I mean, I'm happy to do to collect the comments and collate them, if that helps.
Okay. If we have a printed copy or two of the ROIP in front of us.
fine. Yeah. And did you want to go for about a month's time? Middle of August-ish? Anybody?
Beginning of September, please.
Yeah.
Beginning of September. Okay.
So
Or-
if we,
It's that only leaves, I suppose it does leave a month and 3 weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
These sort of things obviously going to come backwards, forwards, and
Yeah.
comments will be changed and come back, and
if we start circulating our own ideas amongst all, Janet to collate, and then we come back in a room like this and just sit down for the morning or for however long. Now, what days do not suit members? You know, obviously we haven't got all our diaries in front of me, but is anybody say, I always am tied up on a Tuesday, Thursday?
Can't do Wednesday mornings.
the Wednesday's bad anyway, isn't it? So
Okay, so we'll
I can
avoid a
make some
Wednesday.
Wednesdays.
I would prefer Monday or Friday, but I can be.
Monday or Friday is, but I think Graham,
Mondays.
you didn't want Fridays.
Oh, well, no, that's only because it's a Friday. But you know, it's fine. Whatever works for you guys, I'll facilitate.
So any day of the week apart from a Friday.
You-
Oh, no, sorry, Wednesday. What am I talking about?
Not Wednesday.
Not a Wednesday. So we'll circulate some dates, and the very end of August, first 10 days of September, something like that.
Okay.
I know I'm away the first week of September. But the last day or two of August will be better for me. But
Okay.
I'm but one of many.
Yes, but you're from the
wider
first.
the range can be, the better the chance we have.
We do a Google poll, doodle poll, whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 10, 11 days of September. Okay, and avoid Wednesdays. Right, we will arrange that. That being said, shall we defer our formal response until after that, because that makes complete sense, and move on to item 8?
Okay, I think the other thing is, in fairness to Janet, we need to have a deadline put our individual offers in.
Yeah.
Which presumably
We're
have to
gonna
be
need
made of organ.
Yeah, well, so if everybody could give me their comments by Monday, no, let's say Friday, the 21st of August. That's about a month's time. Is that okay? Sorry if you're all going to be on holiday this month.
21st.
Yeah.
Do we sort of all the emails sent to all,
Um,
and then we might get a working consensus, which might make your job a lot easier, Janet? Or is that going to encourage too much conversation to try and?
I think it's going to create hundreds of emails, isn't it?
Okay.
If Janet can put it all together and then we can discuss it,
Yeah.
what there is,
Yeah.
rather than.
So, I mean, I think the version that Graham circulated to us after the webinar has been tweaked.
Yeah.
So therefore, you need to look at the version that goes online today.
Yeah.
When you're making comments, and then please sort of use page numbers and make it as easy as for us all to find our way around it when you're commenting.
Yeah, that would be the easiest way to do it. So we'll send out a doodle poll, and
I think that Paul is probably right. I think we will need to make ourselves, well, perhaps have a conversation with Giles about whether it's acceptable for us to send it in as a letter rather than trying to fill in the form. Because it's just when you've got those, 6 alternatives and you've got to say whether we as a group like it a lot, like it a little, it's just impossible.
it's got to be a letter. It has got to be a letter.
Because as Paul says, we're not just members of the public doing this. We've got a special status in this.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. And I don't know how that will work, but it's been fine with other things.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why.
Well, if somebody says they like it a little or they like it a lot, how do you actually take that into account when rewriting a paragraph in the ROIP anyway? So it actually is a pointless exercise. I was sorry to say so, but it really is saying you like it a lot, like it a little, don't like it at all. Yeah. So what does somebody do with that particular comment? Do they change one particular paragraph that they put their pencil in? Sorry, I'm sounding ratty now.
It's like the curate's egg.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that they can look at is any comments that you put in the space for comments.
We as a group have always said that we wanted to be in at the inception of the ROIP so that we could make changes and put in a detailed critique of it. If you just say we like it a lot or like it a little, or it's meaningless. It has to be a line by line committee appraisal of the policies rather than just a blanket tick. So yeah, I'm with you all on this. Yeah. Okay. We'll circulate the dates and we'll take it from there. We'll move on to item 8, which is the member feedback from associated groups and meetings. The Dorset National Landscape Oral Report. Janet?
Yes, I think that we have had a meeting since the last LAF meeting, but it was an unusual meeting in that it was a site visit, which I've never been to before with the National Landscape people, and we had a site visit to Purbeck, out onto the heathland, and we had talks from somebody from the RSPB and somebody from the National Trust. And it was all very interesting. We were actually, the land we were walking on was access land, so wasn't a case of looking at rights of way at all. So it was all very interesting about the work that the RSPB are doing, where the Heathland meets Poole Harbour. They're changing all of the drainage. So it was all very interesting. There wasn't a great deal about access in it because, as I say, it's largely access land anyway. And yeah, the Dorset National Landscape people are always very impressive. They do seem to get an enormous amount done, and they seem to magic money from places to get things done. There is a scheme which I think I've mentioned somewhere else on our work plan. Actually, I think I mentioned it. There is a scheme for landowners to receive financial support from government via the National Landscape, called Farming in Protected Landscapes. And they did say to me, when we get any of these that involve public access, we will we'll ask you to have a look at the application. But so far, I haven't been asked to contribute at all. But they are, the National Landscape people are aware of the LAF, and I do go to as many meetings as I can get to, and it's very interesting and it is very encouraging. So there's not much more I can say.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Cranbourne Chase National Landscape.
I'm afraid that I was invited to one meeting, but it was really, I thought, about building a vernacular, and it was aimed at more architects. And I really didn't, I looked at the details. Graham sent it to me. And I really didn't think there was really any access.
Relevant.
No, and so I thought it was a waste of the council's money for me to go and sit and listen to what really wasn't an access meeting in any way, shape or form. And apart from that, I've had no contact since, I'm afraid.
Can I just make one quick comment regarding the Cranbourne Chase National Landscape?
Yeah.
They, in the opinion of quite a few people, are actually an exemplar when it comes to their publication and wider understanding of the access network that exists within that national landscape, and the provision. I think it's something like 18 or 22 different trail maps that they have available are genuinely outstanding.
Yes.
Some of those have used FIPL funding, the Farming and Protected Landscapes funding. It is great news that the FIPL funding has been extended for another, what will now be 2.5 years. But having closed and then suddenly reopened again, there are numerous projects that the National Landscape, farmers and landowners within the National Landscape will need to consider, and access is one, but about 30 or 40 potential options that they may need to be looking at or may want to be looking at.
They did a lot of work under Heritage Lottery funding.
Yeah.
So they had a very large grant, which has left a legacy which seemed to be still going on. Whether it will for years to come is, that's to be seen. But at the moment, they have lots of volunteers. They've done lots of access work. And as you say, they have a wonderful set of leaflets, all which are available online as well, and can be divided into easy, difficult, hard routes. And it's good. It is good. But in the last few months, I haven't heard anything from them that I could actually participate in, which is where we are.
Thank you. Item 9, ratification of responses made since the last meeting, decisions received.
Oh, well, this is just to know, the Forestry Commission has the LAF on its list of consultees for felling licenses. And so there's a regular churn of these, to which we've developed. I don't like to ignore them since we are being recognised, but we've managed to develop a fairly standard response, which involves me looking at Dorset Explorer after Graham forwards them and tells me where to look. And I just sort of make a fairly standard response to the effect of if there is any access land involved or if there are any public rights of way involved, which I'm sure they could have worked out for themselves, but making a comment that they need to take it into account with the appropriate authorisations if they're going to need to close the paths for safety reasons or to seek permission from Natural England if they want to close up the access land. And that's what we've been doing.
Thank you for making those responses on our behalf. Decisions on access restrictions, Hamworthy Fuel Depot, circulated letter.
Yeah, we'll say.
So we take that as read. No,
Yeah, there's nothing to do
nothing
about
there.
it. It's done and dusted.
That's right. Item 10, the BCP Council Local Plan Scoping Consultation to consider response.
Right, well, Pip has already mentioned that BCP are working on their local plan again. And it's just a question of whether we want to respond to it. I did send through the link about this to everybody. The key issues which they set out are addressing the housing crisis by providing new market and affordable homes, supporting job growth in the local economy. This is the one of interest to us. Providing a safe, sustainable and convenient transport network. Providing the infrastructure needed to support growth, regenerating town centres, conserving and enhancing the natural environment, mitigate and adapt to the climate and ecological emergency, and delivering high quality places that help improve health and well-being. So there's two or three of the key issues which are within our remit, I think. So I just wondered if we needed to make a comment, perhaps incorporating some of the things Pip said about making sure that recognised public paths are not simply just protected as public paths, but the land either side of them are protected. So the closing date is quite soon, but I'm happy to put together something and circulate it very quickly for people to comment if you wish.
Janet, did I do something last time? Was that the local plan?
Yes, and something happened with their local plan. I think they've been asked to redo it.
Should I have a look at what I did last time? Because I must still have it.
Yeah, I mean,
on a
this is really high level at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not the sort of thing you responded to before.
Oh right, so they've
gone back to square one as far as I can see.
I mean, yeah. Well, I'll look out what I did anyway and see. But if we've become even more strategic than it was before, so presumably it went to some sort of inquiry.
Yeah, Councillor Hadley sent me a message that explained what happened. Yeah, they've had to go back, I think, to square one. Is Pip still there? I don't think he is.
Are you there, Pip?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I am here. I'm not super au fait on the exact sort of sequence of events for the local plan and what happened to it, but you're right to say that it did go to consultation. It was examined. It was refused for various reasons. I don't know exactly what it was. Probably to do with the housing provision, but as things stand, I think the current consultation is for looking at its scoping and a call for sites, and it finishes on Monday, the 27th of July. So that is your deadline for the latest one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pip.
Well, if I can do anything in the next couple of days with Nikki's help, I will. Missed the boat, missed the boat.
Okay. Item 11, the LAF work plan. Don't circulate notes.
Well, first of all, can I just say a huge thank you to everybody who sent me comments, which there were actually loads and loads of comments and ideas for what we might have in our work plan. And I have circulated the note about this. And number one, by far more comments about it than anything else, was improving, extending and linking the network of shared use paths and trailways in Dorset. And there was some really helpful ideas about what, I mean, as a LAF, you know, we don't have any money. We can't throw money at it. But one of the useful ideas was that we have work on the trailways on our agenda as a regular item, have the trailways listed, and we get regular updates on exactly what's happening to them. So that's certainly something that we can have in. The second most popular thing was improving inclusivity, if that's a word, to the public rights of way network. So replacing dials with gates and surfacing issues, those kinds of things. And obviously Dorset Council has already got an excellent policy on replacing stiles with gates whenever they can. We're pushing it, in a way, we're pushing an open door on that. But again, something that we should carry on looking at. Well, yeah, I won't go through everything that everybody gave me. Trying to find out from Natural England what is happening about the review of Crow access land, which Nikki is trying to do. Taking forward the access to access land work, which was previously carried out by a LAF working group. And that is something that's going to be in the ROIP. Becoming more active in the planning system, or at least as far as they're concerned with SANGs. What might the LAF do? Possibly comment on larger planning applications, but do we have the capacity to do this? Seeking to improve signage across the network. Ensuring post-cap agricultural subsidies are used to improve access. Not quite sure what we can do on that front because it's a central government issue, really. Public transport for access to the countryside. Bridleway severance, which is something we've looked at for years and years. Integrating UUCRs with the wider rights of way network. Taking a more holistic approach to access to the countryside for those using motor vehicles. I think that might be it, 10 points.
Some of those come in the road.
I mean, a lot of these are in the ROIP, so I'm kind of wondering if we actually put those things that are said as ideas for the LAF to be working on can be things that we comment on when we comment on the ROIP, but it might be better to actually wait until after we've commented on the ROIP to actually create a plan, because we've got a job, and the job in front of us at the moment is commenting on the ROIP, and we're not going to do anything else at the moment apart from doing that. So I'm kind of inclined to think we've got our ideas, we get the ROIP out of the way, and then we come back and make a proper work plan saying this is the thing we're going to prioritise after we've done that. But don't be influenced by me saying that. If other people have got other ideas, please shout now.
I certainly think that's sensible, and perhaps if you and I get together mid to late September and to formalise that, get it kind of structured out. Perhaps include some of the other ones on that
Yeah,
document about the other day.
Graham sent me earlier this week. He found the last work plan that was worked on by the previous officer who looked after the LAF, which is done as an Excel spreadsheet with the thing that we're looking at, what the LAF might do about it, what council is doing about it, and so on. So yeah,
Perhaps we'll do
I'm
that,
trying to think that's the thing to
you
do.
know, before the next meeting.
Yeah, before the next meeting.
Get the ROIC
Yeah.
consultation out, and then
Yeah.
we'll work on that before the next meeting. Okay.
So can I just quickly go back to the ROIC? So what we've got is a date of the end. So the 21st of October is obviously the end of the consultation. So when is the ROIC likely to be published?
I don't know.
I mean,
is that
will it
on the
be
website?
January 27 or will it be January 37?
I suppose it depends how many comments they get.
Yes.
Just which decade, really.
And then they've got to get it, they've got to update it with everybody's
Yes.
comments and then take it presumably to a committee or
also
to
be,
full council.
Yeah, it's all good.
Who only meets every year.
It probably isn't full council, I don't know.
Sorry, I'm laughing here.
Is it a delegated decision?
I don't think it is council policy.
And it will now have to go to Natural England as well, won't it? So presumably they've got to respond on the
sign off.
21st.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know, because I used to respond. I used to comment on ROICs.
My understanding was that the ROIC was on the Place and Resources Overview Committee scheduled for September, so I presume
Yes.
that's all have to move back, isn't it? And
Yes, it would. Apart from Natural England responses and things like that, council terms, it would go to the Overview Committee in the autumn, Place and Resources Overview Committee. If they're happy with it, they have been known to bounce things back before now to the, to defer for more information. Then it goes to Cabinet, which meet every 2 weeks. And then it go to full council. At the earliest it would go to full council would be like the November meeting, I would have thought. Quite likely to be the January meeting. That's assuming that there's no major changes, should we say. Then it has to be, I think it has to be accredited by the inspector or something, just to say that we haven't done anything bonkers.
I think we would hope that our comments would be included before it went to Place and Resources.
Oh, yeah, that's the final version.
Well, yes, one would hope so.
So it's got to be well after September.
It will be well after September.
That's good. Okay. Yeah. Moving on to item 12, any other business? I've got 2 items that have come forward. Jackie's social media.
Yes,
Yep.
hello there. Yeah, I've got a couple of items for AOB actually, if that's all right. But firstly, yes, I'd like to just take a moment to float an idea that I think could help us reach more people and showcase the work that DLF does. And at the moment, I think we're missing a trick by not having a presence on social media. So platforms like Facebook could be a brilliant way to share updates, celebrate successes, and get more locals engaged with what we do. We can use it to highlight access improvements, share event details, attractions like Shillingstone Railway, or just spark conversations about Dorset's paths and spaces, and ask followers their views. So I'm not suggesting, I wouldn't suggest we dive in head first, maybe start a small single platform like a Facebook page. I'd be happy to do that. That's kind of what I do anyway. And we could then help us connect and engage a younger audience, perhaps. And people who don't really know that what we do, who we are, what does everyone think? Really, that was my idea for taking us, forward on social media.
Any thoughts, anyone?
Good idea.
Good idea. Yes.
If someone's got the energy to do it, fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do it. Probably could also work with Dorset Council in updating people on what you know, if anyone has anything in their local area that they'd like to be put on the board, then they can just message me and I can discuss it with them and what can be posted. And yeah, we could start a trial, couldn't we?
Many councillors have their own councillor Facebook page where they put footpath improvements in their patch up. So if you started up a page, I would strongly suggest you invite them all to join.
Via Dorset Council?
No, via individual councillors who are bothered about this sort of thing. I mean, the council Facebook page is okay, but it's very much, should we say, the official version. You don't suddenly get something saying, oh, by the way, have you noticed this gate's been moved?
So how would it be the best way to reach all of the parishes then, to find anyone that was, you know, to get us known to them?
I think you'll find a lot of parishes have their own community pages, not all, admittedly. But if you sent a link to me, I can link to some of them, and then they can link to others and link to others and link to others.
Yeah, okay. So shall I go via, well, I'll just set the page up perhaps first, and then send a link to the group, to you all, by email. And then if anyone wants to, you know, we'll just have an opening page statement and a post, and then people can just send me ideas of what should be put up. I think the Shillingstone Railway would be a nice one to start off really as well.
I think the Rangers post things occasionally themselves, so make sure.
And yeah, I can share from other groups as well on the page. Yeah, so we'll give that a trial with open access to it. Maybe if it gets a bit controversial, and
just cut the comments off if it gets tricky.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was that then. The other item I thought I'd raise, which you may have tackled before I joined, but it's a concern about public safety on rights of way concerning dangerous cattle attacking ramblers. I'm not sure what people's experiences of this. Myself, I've had a couple of scary experiences on just down near the Stour in Kingston Lacey Estate and Corfe Castle. And at Kingston Lacey, I actually had to hop over into the river to avoid a young herd of bulls that were very curious and got a bit boisterous to pinning against a fence. So we had to hop over. But yeah, with the news that someone in Norfolk has just been killed by one, and that 11 people were killed by them in sort of 20 to 2021, I wondered if that's something that the forum has discussed previously.
I think, I mean, my opinion is that cattle are normally curious but rarely aggressive unless they are absolutely terrified of, or have been recently terrified of, people's dogs. And if one looks at the statistics, which I once did, then one should be a lot more frightened of dogs than that you should of cattle. Most people who get killed by cattle tend to be people who are working with them, and they're in a confined space and the cattle step backwards. And the ones on open access land tend to be chosen for beef cattle, often on conservation land, are chosen for the fact that they are not aggressive. So I'm surprised about Kingston Lacey. I know the Kingston Lacey estate ones are particularly curious. They're the lovely red Devons, aren't they?
Yes.
Where I do a butterfly transit there, and so I've met a lot of those cattle quite frequently, and I would say that yeah, they're curious, but they're not aggressive. And so,
well, it's the strength in their numbers when there's a large herd which there can be there, and of young bulls. And they're, you know, they are getting quite boisterous after a while. When they get curious, they wander further afield, and then, yeah, they start heading towards people going for the gate to Eye Bridge, and that was what that, you know, we were converging with them and didn't get there in time, and yeah, they swarmed us. There were quite a number of them. So yeah, and yeah, they are we're scared. You can get trampled by them. I was pretty sure I was going to be.
I recall it was discussed on the Devon Laugh about 12 years ago, ECAF as it's called. The major concern was with cows with young calves, because the cow will always protect its offspring, and also dog walking. And it was suggested that if ever cattle approached a walker with a dog, they let the dog go, because the dog will always get itself out of danger. And of course, you can't have dairy bulls out on public rights of way. So,
I mean, there is a lot of advice online, and Natural
Yeah.
England gives a lot of advice, and there's something in the RAG. I guess the RAG still exists, about cattle and calves, and landowners are not permitted to put dangerous animals out where there's rights of way, and we can't have a landscape in which there's no cows. I mean,
A
you know, that
reporting mechanism, I think, might be well known. If people do encounter these situations, then if it's recorded, then you know, landowners might be more likely to take action.
When these instances are reported to us, Jackie, we do contact the landowner and say, please do make sure that the various laws around cattle in fields are adhered to, and for your advice and information, this has been raised with this particular herd. So please beware that this is an issue with these particular cattle. And obviously, if the same landowner keeps coming up again and again, and we flag it with them every time, if there is an incident, we've got that all logged to kind of provide evidence if required.
It just makes me avoid that route down to the Eye Bridge when there are cattle there now, when they come out, because, you know, I'd walk my dog down there, and then I'm too frightened to just go down there when they start converging on you. So, you know, I was wondering really if there's a medium that people can get access to easily nowhere. And that might be something I can put on the social media page, that's, you know, if there's a situation they find that, yeah, that would be a good source of information for people, I think, to go to report it. Yeah, I mean, it is an issue.
I think it'd be very difficult to log every single field where cattle are right across the county, but I know what you mean by just kind of providing more advice for people via Facebook,
and where to report it if they have a scary a situation. Yeah, because that would make it, you know, people understand more about what kind of situations those fields are, you know, the Kingston Lacey estate particularly.
Yeah, I mean, most of these incidents are in kind of early springs into early summer, when the cattle have just come out of their barns. It's generally a bit of young stock, and they're all happy and excited. As they get used to having people around and bored, basically by seeing people, incidents throughout the rest of the year do tail off, because, you know, they realise that people are not that they aren't fun, and so they're not going to kind of run after them or be that inquisitive.
And over on the National Trust land at Ringmore, outside of Oakford Fitzpaine, it's there printed by the National Trust that, as Philip was saying, if you approached by cattle and calves and you've got a dog with you, let the dog off the lead, and just let them go and now sort each other out. So, I mean, there obviously certain bodies do take pains to put posts on their land So that is obviously a known issue, I guess.
All right.
Any farmer who's keeping cattle is well aware, just so that you can understand, of the HSE information sheet that is produced. I think it's number 17 or something, and effectively that lists the various things that the livestock keepers need to be aware of when it comes to rights of way and cattle. And that is very, very, very clear for both any member of the public and or the livestock owner themselves or the farm themselves. There are a number of precautions they need to put in place to minimise risks to the public, of people using the public rights of way. So there is an awful lot of that that's out there, and they are all aware of it.
I had another situation at Corfe Castle over the brow there, the hill, which is again, I think, National Trust cattle, and they had their young, and they were all standing around the gate that had to go through to get across the land. So it was quite difficult. Had to just try and break through the gate, run down the hill and up along the bottom and go up the other side to avoid them, because I suspected that with their young that they would be more naturally defensive. So yeah, it was another scary situation there. Yeah, it was a bit of a problem. I do get a bit concerned sometimes.
I sort of agree, but having worked with cattle all my life, I think the issue at the moment is because it is so hot, the cattle will often drift towards the top of the hill in a group because there's more airflow, there's more wind up there. So they do tend to group slightly more at the moment than they would, shall we say, during the average dull August. As somebody whose balance is not particularly brilliant, I often walk with a stick, particularly if I'm on uneven ground. And whenever we used to herd cattle, it was always said, take a stick, because it's surprising that extra meter in your hand, they're slightly wary of that. So if you just tap them on the bottom, they will often move away because they're used to being herded. So they treat you as a herder rather than something desperately exciting. So I hate to say it, but if you are concerned and you're often going through fields or on the Wareham Heath where you're going through cattle, I would recommend you just take a walking stick with you.
That's good advice.
But don't take a little yappy dog, because it's the little yappy dogs that they get the most upset about. But yeah, a walking, because you can touch them without them having come right up to you. And if there's 6 of them staring at you and they're about a meter away, you can tap them on the nose, go shoo, and they usually will go. You just don't want to get within a meter of them, is my advice.
That's very good advice. Perhaps something that we could also include on our DLF social media as advice as well to other walkers.
Because there's no way I could run away from a cow these days, so they have to run away from me.
I think if you're going to put advice on there about hitting an animal, wherever,
exactly, that might not be.
You want to be very cautious about what you put on there.
Take a stick, but don't use it.
Yes, it's there. You can wave it, don't hit them. Yes.
Yeah.
If I may just add, about the social media thing, I'll just review what other documents that we've got. Social media policy might still be in there. Any terms of reference about them, standing orders about social media,
right? So
before making it live, if that's all right, Jackie.
Everything to grade first before it gets posted, please, Jackie.
Well, also, I should,
let me just check a few things out first, because I'm sure there won't be an issue with it being. Obviously, the group is separate from Dorset Council, so I think pretty much you can do what you want, but there might just be some guidelines to do with social media policies for local access forums nationwide. So I'll check that out and then come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Janet wants a quick word about cattle. So.
Yeah, just to say, I'll send you a link to this, Jackie. There is an organisation, a single issue organisation that is very concerned about cattle and public safety on public rights of way, and it mostly comprises people who've had really horrible incidents when they've been really badly injured, and reading their website is not for the faint-hearted, but it is quite interesting. their main beef is with
no
the
pun
health and
intended.
safety, is with the health and safety executive, and the health and safety executive not taking this issue seriously enough. But I think that has changed slightly in very recent years. But I'll send you the link to it because you'll find it quite interesting reading. And the other thing to say on this is that there is advice on Rambler's website, so you can use the link to that. Which,
Oh, excellent. That would also maybe good to share.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janet.
Right. Next item on any other business. Gavin, you want to talk about the low?
I think you'd already mentioned
No,
at the start.
Oh, okay.
I've just written it in there twice,
Yeah.
just depending on where Gavin wants to speak.
So what I wanted to say was to dovetail with what we discussed about social media. Could I ask that the DLAF membership page on the council website is updated? Because there are quite a few new people on there.
Indeed.
And would you please reference the organisations that we've referencing? Because if people are attracted through social media, want to contact any groups, it may be helpful for them to know which of us to go through first.
Apologies, I haven't done. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other business in the room? Paul?
One thing that several of these items on the work that have been come is in the real world, they are only going to happen with local input, which takes us back to the question of our linkage with parishes and the parish rights of way liaison officer network. And I can remember years ago, I was able to sign out missives to parishes collectively through a list of some form. And my understanding as of now is that network is virtually non-existent. And I think there were going to be some things in the row about beefing it up a bit. So perhaps once we have the final Pathway Improvement Plan text, we can revisit this issue from our perspective. So, obviously the Pathway Improvement Plan, it's about a relationship between the council and parishes. But I say, if we are to make things happen on several of these issues, we need that linkage ourselves.
So there are still many parishes with their rights of way liaison officer, and they're still very active. There's a number that haven't, but each of the senior rangers knows who they are within there, and we're in touch with them all the time. So there isn't so much of a network anymore, but like you say, that is being addressed in the road, and that whole network will be reinvigorated.
Right. Okay, so it just comes to the date of the next meeting. Oh, sorry.
Just to let everyone aware that there's Dorset COP is on the 14th of November, this year's theme is how to make an impact for climate and nature. The Dorset Greenways Alliance are going to be having a workshop about how to make Dorset's rural trailways an active travel network.
And 19th of November.
Yeah, at Kingston. Oh, sorry, the 14th of November at Kingston Moor.
Could you circulate details, please? Thank you. Right. Date of the next meeting, Tuesday, the 1st of December. Do you think we could meet at 10 o'clock and get through an agenda fairly swiftly? We have to be out by 12:30. If we tailor the agenda, we're just ratifying our response from the working group. And if we keep the substantive items down.
Yes, is the answer, because the idea of being here by 9:30 is painful.
Yeah,
'Cause
apologies for
it
the
means-
timing.
Yeah, it
Um,
means arriving at really at just after 9 in order to be
mm,
in the car park, so.
This entire building seems to be booked up for 3 weeks in the run up to Christmas. So it's the only place we can get is the Dorset History Centre on that particular morning. The rest of the week, it too was booked up. The only time available this side of the new year, which seems extraordinary, but
Is that council owned Dorset
Yeah.
History Centre?
So 10 o'clock on Tuesday the 1st. Christmas.
Have the dates been set for next year? Is it just 3 meetings?
yeah,
Not yet, we
we
do
can
them.
we can do that.
Right, well, it's 2 minutes to 1. We got through remarkably well. You at the working group. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. See you.